So we are now in January, the new year is in full swing, and a lot of us may be participating in a January no buy or low buy. If that is you, then keep on watching this video because I'm going to go through everything you need to do to be able to stick to your no buy. For those of you who don't know me, welcome. My name's Christina. I talk all about intentional living, intentional spending, and how to get the most out of what you've already got. And I started incorporating no-buy challenges every year into my life as a way to kickstart my journey of getting out of over $120,000 of student loan debt and overcoming a compulsive shopping habit. Today, I'm debt-free and have a much healthier relationship with my shopping and my stuff, but low-buy and no-buy challenges are still things that I like to incorporate into my arsenal of still being able to manage my shopping habits and to make sure I don't go into debt again. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get into it. If you've never heard of any of these challenges before, essentially a no-buy is a no-spend challenge where you don't allow yourself to spend any money on anything other than necessities. A lot of people will cut out things like clothes, makeup, skincare, takeout, video games, pretty much anything that you find you may be buying or spending money on in excess, or something that you feel like you own a lot of but aren't getting a lot of use out of it. So a no spend challenge, of course, it's meant to help us save money, but it's also a challenge, in my opinion, to get use and joy out of the things we already have. And if you're a person who really likes a sort of all or none, cold turkey kind of experience, if you thrive on that, then I think a no buy may be for you. But if you find that's a little bit too harsh or something that's a bit unrealistic for you, then you may be better suited to try a low buy challenge, which is essentially setting limits and boundaries around specific categories of spending that you predetermine ahead of time. For example, it could be having a certain monetary budget and spending in a certain category like clothes or makeup, or maybe you don't allow yourself to buy something new until you run out of something old, or setting a number limit like only allowing yourself to buy 1 or 2 items of clothing a month. Once you choose your challenge, you set your own rules and your boundaries that are going to be challenging, but also something that you can realistically stick to at the end of the day. All right, so any no-buy or low-buy video I have ever made is always gonna start out with this point, and that is to make sure you know your why. I will make sure to leave a playlist of all my other low-buy and no-buy videos and check-ins down below, and I'll leave it up here for you. But essentially, you need a good reason as to why you're doing this. And I need you to make sure that it is not to punish yourself. I think it's very easy to feel out of control of our spending and consumption, and then the natural knee-jerk reaction to that, if you feel like you're on this side of the spectrum, is to immediately go to the other side and go from lots of spending to no spending at all. And that is essentially what a no-buy is, but you need a better reason than punishing yourself to keep you going. Maybe you want to get out of debt. Maybe you want to start saving some more money. Or maybe you want to start building better consumption habits for sustainability reasons. There's plenty of other good reasons to start a no-buy or a low-buy challenge than to simply punish yourself for previous bad behavior. Don't get me wrong, this is meant to be a challenge and it is meant to be difficult where you have to employ some discipline to actually stick to it, but I think that you can do that from a kind place. And I think it really also requires us to envision what life would be like if we freed up our money and our time doing things other than shopping. Because shopping takes up so much of your time if you really think about it. You spend a lot of time scrolling around looking for something to want, then you spend time thinking about whether or not you're gonna buy it, then you debate with yourself whether or not you should, then you spend time and energy waiting for the package to come, then if you don't like it, you have to think about how you're gonna take it back. If you can't get your money back, then you have to figure out how you're gonna pay for it. So there's just like a lot of time and energy that goes into shopping that really we could utilize in other places that could potentially be feeding us more. So in this month, when you're coming up with your why, I think it's important to think about what you're going to be gaining from doing this challenge and focus more on that rather than what you can't do. Because if you're focused only on the can't, as in what you can't buy, what you can't do, and all the things you're missing out on, it's gonna be a lot harder to stick to your challenge. And I think you're just gonna be a lot more prone to feeling like you failed, and it's just not gonna be a good time. So before you get started, make sure you find a reason and a good why that motivates you, where the pain of going through the process of that month will be worth the result in the end. Once you've established your why and what challenge you're going to be doing, the next thing you want to do is set out your rules. You can be as ambitious as you want here, but I think the key is to make sure that your rules are both challenging and realistic at the same time. I think this challenge is an exercise in self-compassion and self-trust, where you keep your promises to yourself and stick to it, but only you know yourself best. So I think it's important to make sure your rules are realistic and that we account for things ahead of time so that we're not feeling like we failed or scrambling to figure out what to do in the moment. So I think it's a really good idea, especially if you're doing a monthly challenge, to map out your month ahead of time. This is something that I actually do when I budget. I think about any birthdays coming up, any events, any annual fees I have to pay, things like that. And that's a way to help bake in any unexpected expenses coming up in the month. And I think you can do the same thing with your no-buy. So I'm gonna put my rules up here on the screen. So for the month of January, I'm not allowing myself to buy any new clothes that's new or secondhand, shoes, makeup, skincare, hair care, and accessories. But there are exceptions to this rule. So I'm allowed to buy replacements if I don't have a backup product. I'm going to allow myself to be able to tailor certain pieces of clothing. That's kind of a no-buy hack. Instead of spending money on new clothes, you can put that money into old clothes that you're not wearing because they don't fit properly. Invest in a tailor, you're investing in a small business, and it's like getting a brand new piece of clothing without shopping. I am allowed to spend money on health, books, and education, and because I'm planning on doing a dopamine detox month pretty much every other month, although I may do like 2 months on, 1 month off. I'm just gonna see how I feel throughout the year. Depending on how it goes though, I will be allowing myself a monthly manicure because I'm a nail biter. Look at this right now, this is terrible. So I need to get that fixed. Otherwise, I'm just gonna chew off all my nails and it's gonna be a whole thing. So that is one exception that I'm allowing myself, and I'll allow myself a haircut when it's due. Then comes the fun part of actually finding ways to stick to your low buy. Remember that the goal of this is to find joy in other things again. We're resetting our dopamine system, we're resetting our pleasure systems to find things to do other than shopping that give us that same kind of feeling. So think about things that you enjoy doing. Maybe it's baking, maybe it's going to the gym, maybe you want to take up sewing or knitting. And that I feel will prove to be the most difficult part because a lot of us are conditioned to just grab for our phone and start shopping and scrolling in any second that we feel a little bit bored or uncomfortable. So it's really thinking about ways to arm yourself against that impulse and doing something else that feels better for you in that time. The next thing you want to do is find ways to create friction and ignorance throughout your month. I think a lot of the struggle when it comes to shopping is we see something that we didn't even know we wanted in the first place. There's always these new wants and desires and needs that tend to come up as things are presented to us. And then it sort of turns into that behavior of like, oh, where did you get that? And checking the tag and going to the store and all of that stuff. So when it comes to a no-buy or a low-buy challenge, I truly believe that ignorance is bliss. Out of sight means out of mind. So there's some practical things you can do here, like unsubscribing from retailer emails. January is another big month for sales, so that's something to keep in mind. Unfollow influencers that make you feel like you want to shop. Stop watching hauls. Along with that, some other great things you can do is removing things like Apple Pay or Face ID from your phone so that it creates more friction, so that you're not making these one-click purchases. And kind of just embrace being both lazy and clueless in this time. And what happens if you see something that you do want? Well, this is where you can employ the old faithful of wish listing and waiting. Anytime I see something that I never knew existed, but I'm really intrigued by it and it makes me go, ooh, pretty.
Now remember, the instant you finish it, I own your soul for...
The first thing I do is mark it down on a wish list. All I do is leave it in the notes app on my phone. And the other thing I started doing nowadays is to write the actual price of the item so that I'm reminded of if I even think it's worth it anymore by the time I come back to it. Or if I really want it, then I can start making my plan to find a way to buy it. But either way, I like to put things on a wish list and just let it sort of sit there for at least a month. I find a month for me is my sweet spot. Some people may say 24 hours, 72 hours, a week, whatever works for you. But for me, I think a month is long enough for me to either forget about the item or to think about it so often that I really know that I want it at that point. But wishlisting is such an effective way to just create some separation from the wanting and the buying of the item. And it's really gonna help you minimize impulse buying and ideally buyer's remorse at the end. Because if you did allow yourself to wait and you still wanted it at the end of that time period, then I think you can say with a bit more confidence that it's something that you actually wanted. Now, what else do you do throughout this month? Well, I think a no buy and a low buy challenge is really mostly about spending time with what you already have. A lot of us go into this challenge because we want to get a better sense of control over impulse buying or just shopping less and using our stuff more. So what better time than now to actually spend time with your stuff? So this is a really great time to do things like decluttering, reorganizing. If you're doing a no buy on makeup and skincare, then this is the time that you can use up all of your current makeup and skincare. Do makeup looks that you've been wanting to try. Have little spa and pamper days, everything shower days. Do hair masks. Try new hairstyles, or if it's clothes, then this is an amazing time to shop your closet and just push yourself to get creative and have fun with the clothes you already have. That's what I'm gonna be doing all this month. One thing that I am excited to be doing is a little mini 10 by 10 style challenges. I'm gonna be taking clothes that I don't wear that often and mixing it in with clothes that I do, and just having some fun, playing dress up, playing with like a little mini capsule wardrobe every single month, and I'm stoked for that. Another thing that you wanna make sure you're doing is finding your support system. Find a community of people doing the same thing as you. If you guys didn't know, I have a free Facebook group with over 7,000 members called Low Buy Beauties. I've had that since 2019, and it's an amazing resource and support network of people doing their own no buy challenges, sharing their progress, sharing their struggles, and just everyone's just propping each other up to make sure that we reach our goals. So I'll leave a link down below if you want to join. You can also find communities on Reddit. There's an amazing community right here in the YouTube comments. You want to surround yourself with people who support your goals and not deter them. And the last thing you really need to focus on in order to have a successful no buy or low buy challenge is to feel your feelings. I think for a lot of us, shopping is still one of our main forms of escapism and even self-soothing in many cases. A lot of us will shop when we're sad, stressed, unhappy, or feeling out of control of a certain situation. And I think it's a mechanism that many of us have used in the past or even today to re-exert a sense of control over our lives. But if you're anything like me, especially me in the past when I was a full-blown shopaholic and just constantly worried about money, where you find yourself stressed about money, so then you go and spend more money to relieve that stress, and then it just creates that cycle over and over and over again. And I think it's because we're avoiding dealing with that stress. We're avoiding that feeling. There's data to support that it takes our brain about 90 seconds to process a feeling. So if you've noticed that you're feeling a certain way and your default coping mechanism is to pick up your phone and start shopping, try just sitting with that feeling. Allow yourself to feel the anxiety, the sadness, the anger, whatever's coming up, and let your body process it. Obviously, this is easier said than done, and I think things like therapy, mindfulness, meditation, all of those things can help. But I think what I really gain from it is that it's short-term pain for long-term gain, as opposed to turning to shopping to soothe that pain and potentially ends up creating more down the line because now we've spent money, now we don't know how we're gonna pay for it, maybe we're worse in debt, maybe we feel like we failed, and we start to feel guilt and shame. So I think it's better to just process the feeling that you're feeling, try to understand it, journal it out, talk to somebody about it. But 90 seconds over weeks and potentially months of pain afterwards, I think processing the feelings is the better deal. So those are all of my best tips and tricks to have a successful no-buy challenge. Remember, I think the key is to look at this challenge from a perspective of abundance because there's so much to be gained and we already have so much, rather than focusing on what you're missing out on. A lot of us have a lot of really great stuff that we're probably not using as much as we really could. And I really think this time is an opportunity for us to be creative and just find a sense of enoughness and contentment in what we already have. And of course, there's always that extra bonus of saving money. So if you're gonna be doing a no-buy January or even a no-buy year or a low buy, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know some of your rules and let me know why you're doing this. What's gonna keep you going throughout your challenge? Please share down below because I think it can really help others with their own challenge as well. Thank you so much again for watching. If you got any value out of this video, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. It is one of the best ways you can help support my channel and help it grow. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.